Vercel, our favorite web villain, is in the news again, and for once it's not because of some dumb React idea or a questionable web acquisition designed to pull more of the ecosystem under its control. Remember, this is a company whose entire business model is selling you hosting for a framework they also happen to maintain. So, when Vercel announces a new open source project, it's worth asking which paid product it quietly points you toward. This time around, their project is all about AI because, as you know, everything has to be about AI. In fact, I dare you to find a software company which doesn't mention AI on their landing page these days. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that Vercel just announced a new experimental systems language built for AI agents. The language is called Zero, and let me tell you from the get-go, this is the perfect name for a programming language in 2026, because this is the exact amount of patience and energy this industry has left for bullshit. Zero compiles to native binaries under 10 kilobytes without LLVM, which is kind of impressive. Its compiler doesn't print error messages, and you will probably never use it for reasons we'll get to in a second. Vercel's pitch is that the current programming languages are designed for humans, and, as we are all learning these days, anything related to humans is deeply flawed and inefficient because it stops big tech from reaching the much advertised
10x productivity.
You see, in the old days of software development, when programmers were thinking beings capable of reading, writing, understanding, and debugging code, they were wasting a lot of their time reading compiler error messages and stack trace outputs.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
But more importantly, AI agents work better with predictable tokens, stable codes, and machine parsable repair hints. So Vercel's plan is to force a new language onto programmers so that agents can be more efficient. Clearly, the sensible thing to do is to rebuild a toolchain and an entire ecosystem from scratch around the limitations of the current generation of LLMs. This is how we'll get to that much desired
10x productivity.
As a result, the highlight that everybody is talking about is that instead of the usual compile errors and stack traces we all love to copy-paste into ChatGPT these days, Zero emits structured JSON with stable error codes and typed repair IDs that an AI agent can act on without having to parse English. So instead of the usual exceptions we all know how to debug, Zero is outputting a JSON blob optimized for maximum token consumption with an error code, a repair ID, and structured fields telling the agent exactly which transformation to apply. But, irony and jokes aside, some humans, hopefully, spent real time and effort building this language, so it's only fair that we look at the actual result through a more objective lens. What's interesting is that some of the features advertised as agent-friendly are actually just good language design and best practices in general. For instance, in Zero, you have to explicitly declare your code capabilities and side effects. So, if a function does I/O or needs to talk with a network, this has to be explicitly defined in the code. Because the results have to be completely predictable, there are no hidden globals reaching out from 3 modules over, there is no implicit async sneaking in through a library, and no mandatory garbage collector running in the background at the worst time possible. This is sold as agent-friendly because an LLM can see the function signature and know what's going on without having to read the whole body. Basically, we're handing the agent maximum context while shrinking the surface area where things can go wrong. But this is just good language design in general, and there are a lot of languages which enforce stating your intents explicitly while limiting the number of unwanted side effects. And the same applies to the memory model. Zero uses static dispatch, explicit allocation, no runtime tags, no garbage collector pauses, and no hidden heap allocations happening when you thought you were just adding 2 numbers together. In other words, the compiled binary doesn't drag along a 4 megabytes runtime just to print hello world. Again, this is advertised as a feature for agents because of the small executables, predictable behavior, and the local reasoning where the AI can look at a function and actually know what it costs without simulating the entire program in its head. The real question, however, is if Zero solves a real problem or not. After all, this is already a very crowded space, and I think we can all agree no one will dethrone JavaScript anytime soon. Well, just like Sam Altman, I am no LLM or coding expert, but what I do know is that these models are as good as the amount and quality of their training data. So there is a reason all Vibe coders are building JavaScript apps. There's roughly 2 decades of Stack Overflow questions, GitHub repos, NPM packages and blog posts feeding these models, and the primary language during this time was good, old, reliable JavaScript. So Zero has a chicken and egg problem. And chickens, coincidentally, are also what most of us will be raising once the agents finish the takeover. Their whole pitch is that the language is optimized for agents, but agents are optimized for the languages that already exist. An LLM trained on a planet's worth of TypeScript is going to write better TypeScript than Zero, regardless of how clean Zero's error codes are. Honestly, the best Zero can hope for is to become another candidate for a bun rewrite, which is rapidly turning into the industry's favorite meme metric. And there's an even more awkward question hiding underneath all of this. Who is Zero actually for? The developers most likely to pick up a new system's language are the C, Rust and Zig crowd who write code as a craft and who, broadly speaking, are not exactly thrilled about the idea of optimizing their syntax for agent consumption. Meanwhile, the vibe coder Zero is theoretically helping, are deep in the JavaScript ecosystem and aren't going anywhere. So Zero is pitching itself to an audience that doesn't exist yet, hoping the agents of the future will train on a corpus that hasn't been written in a language nobody is currently being paid to use. Before wrapping things up, the Legends TV series is your awesome recommendation for the day because it was definitely worth binge watching until 4 in the morning. Also, check out my new project at softwaresentiment.com if you want to keep up with the relevant news in the industry. If you liked this video, you should consider joining our community where I'm posting more dedicated weekly content. Please don't forget to smash all the buttons and, until next time, thank you for watching.